Welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at one of the defining poems of the Victorian era, Dover Beach by Matthew Arnold. It's a bit of a longer poem, so I'm going to dive right into a reading, but first I want you to take notice of the background. Arnold sets the poem and names it after the white cliffs of Dover in southern England. So it's a very important setting to this poem. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full. The moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand glimmering and vast out on the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet is the night air. Only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land, listen. You hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back and fling at their return up the high strand, begin and cease and then again begin with tremulous cadence slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Ægean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound of thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. So it's quite a poem, and it is, like I said, a lot to unpack. But I think it gets a lot easier if you look at it stanza by stanza. And anytime a poet uses stanzas, whether it be 1 or 4, and you're wondering, how do I figure out this poem? I have no idea where to start. It doesn't make any sense. A great starting spot is asking yourself, why is it the number of stanzas that it is? And here the division into 4 stanzas is quite clear when you read it a couple of times. So let's look at that. So our first stanza establishes the setting. Like I said, Dover Beach. We know that the sea is calm, that the tide is full, the moon is beautiful, and you can see the French coast, and there's little lights, and there's the beautiful cliffs and the tranquil bay, and the air is sweet. So it's this very romantic, idealized setting, and we discover when you get the line, come to the window, that the speaker isn't talking to us, but someone else in the poem. It would be weird if we were coming to the window. I mean, we're seeing this through the other person's eyes, but it appears like we have 2 people in a room, and one of them is calling one to the window. And we then start this theme of sound. You see the line here, listen. It's very important. It starts the sound, and we listen to the roar of the land. But what we're listening to, what this couple, and this is actually written by Arnold on his honeymoon at Dover Beach, so it should be romantic, you'd think, right? But what this couple is listening to, according to the speaker, is not the breeze or the tide's beautiful sound or the relaxation of the birds or whatever it might be. They're listening to the eternal note of sadness. What a topic for a honeymoon. So what is he going to tell us about this eternal note of sadness? Well, let's look. Sophocles heard long ago this note. He heard it on the Ægean. Sophocles is the father of Greek tragedy. He wrote works such as Antigone and Oedipus Rex. And the Ægean is a sea off the coast of Greece. So Sophocles, thousands of years ago, heard this eternal note of sadness, which makes sense, father of tragedy and all that. And it reminded him of human misery. And then the speaker makes a connection, or Arnold, it's a very biographical poem, makes a connection to the modern world that he's living in. We find also in the sound of thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. So we are hearing the same reminder of misery as Sophocles heard. So we've had 2 seas now. We've had Dover, well, the northern sea, but Dover Beach, and then Sophocles on the Ægean. So there's 2 seas. Our next sea, where we have this thought, is a metaphorical one, the Sea of Faith. So by the Sea of Faith, Arnold's talking about religion, specifically Christianity at this time in England. And he says that the Sea of Faith was once full, and it was around all of the entire world, and it was like a girdle, and not a girdle in the sense of an undergarment, but in the liturgical sense, which is the belt worn by a priest or pastor to kind of hold the robes together. So it's this very specific religious imagery that for a long time, everyone could take faith in God and in an eternal life and rewards in heaven. But now, he does not hear the Sea of Faith. He only hears its melancholy, long, withdrawing roar as it dries up, as it shrinks away. So why is faith shrinking away? Well, this poem is published right after Charles Darwin publishes On the Origin of Species. So it's in many ways a reaction to a world that suddenly couldn't live with modern science and religion. And people were perhaps more than ever starting to question their views on God. And this was very scary to Arnold, as I'm sure it was to many people. Now, obviously, there are still Christians today and people of many different faiths, just as there are still people that don't believe. So the idea that the Sea of Faith dries up, it doesn't quite hold true. But at least for this time, we need to imagine that he must have thought it was. And if you can't put your faith in God, where can you put your faith? Well, that's where our 4th stanza goes. Ah, love, let us be true to one another. So now all of a sudden we're back in Dover, in that hotel room or wherever, looking out the window. Let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new. All of these are beautiful images, the things you think of when you're in love, dreams and beauty and everything seeming new and full of variety. No, none of that. It is actually a place with no joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And Arnold is really punching this point home, this pessimistic, melancholy outlook. He doesn't need to say nor at all. It could read neither joy, love, light, certitude, peace, or help for pain. But instead he includes that extra conjunction to really just hammer the point home. Every time you think he's going to stop, it just keeps going. Why? You're there in a beautiful beach on your honeymoon. Why are you looking at the world this way? Why do you think all of a sudden that love is the only thing that could save the world? Because you obviously don't think that much, because a couple lines later you say the world has no love. So did the speaker change his mind? Did Arnold forget to proofread? Or did he already give up on it before it's even had a chance to start this marriage? It's hard to tell. But I think we can answer why he's feeling the way he is, and it again has to do with the location. Dover is right here on the English Channel, about as close as you can get to France without crossing. So he was able to see France from this location. And that's what he talks about when he says, and we are here in Dover, looking out at France, as on a darkling plain swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. And if you know anything about the history behind the English and the French, it's pretty bloody, with a lot of battles and a lot of men crossing that channel to never come back or dying in the crossing. Centuries of warfare at this point in history are backing Arnold as he looks out at this epitome of human destruction and hate. And it makes him sad. And I don't want to be that sad, but I don't know if I can blame him either. And It's an important poem for the Victorian era, and it shows a shift in worldview, kind of all wrapped up. It's not a poem I actually agree with in terms of its worldview, but it's one that I certainly appreciate getting an insight into. So I'm not the only one who likes this poem. It's shown up in many other places. I always like to show you all the influence a poem has on things you might be familiar with. So one is Anthony Hetchett. You might not know this poem, but you should look it up. It's a follow-up poem. Hetchett was a poet laureate, and it's a response. It's the woman's response to Arnold in Dover Beach. It's Dover and another word with a B that I can't say right now because it's, dirty. But you can probably guess. But look it up. It's a fantastic, humorous and an insightful poem. Also, if you've read Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, wonderful novel, there's a scene where Montag is trying to convince his wife about the power and beauty of poetry at this dinner party. So what better poem to select than Dover Beach, where a man is saying, "Put your faith in me because the world sucks." So Bradbury always references poetry very well. He was very well read. And it's in the musical Cabaret. It's not super important in the musical Cabaret. I mean, I guess it has some foreshadowing. I only know that because I was in Cabaret in college. But anyway, there's a fun picture for you. An even more fun picture shows that while we respect Arnold for his poetry, few people have followed his grooming advice. Check out those muttons, or those chops. So anyway, fun picture to end with. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.